What's up, everyone? We're back with episode 5 of the Slot Pod. We're here to discuss a lot of cool stuff, a lot of moving parts in the NFL. I know it's off season, so there's not a lot going on. We got an exciting episode today where we're going to be going over breakout stars in the NFL, starting out with the AFC, of course. We like to break it down into 2 episodes. Start with some current events, but we're excited to have everyone here. Adam, take it away.
Yeah, so right now there's some trade talks going around for Falcons tight end Kyle Pitts. Where do you think he's going?
I can't say where I think he's going because I feel like there's a lot of places where he could end up. A lot of teams that need a tight end, a lot of teams that could use a tight end, maybe in double tight end sets. I'd really like to see him, honestly, on the Pats. I know they've got Hunter Henry. They also drafted a tight end. So they're kind of okay in the tight end position, but I like the idea of pairing a young tight end with Drake May. Yeah. So it could be interesting, but I think his skill set needs to improve and his production also needs to improve. I honestly, if I'm being honest, I'd love to see him on the Falcons, which I know that's where he's at. So I'd love to see him succeed on the Falcons and stay there. What are your thoughts? Where do you want to see him end up?
Yeah, honestly, I'd like to see him go to the Steelers just because I think that's a good fit for the Steelers.
Yeah.
Just because they lost George Pickens, they lost Najee Harris, so that offense is looking pretty bland as of right now. Their quarterback room. Speaking of the quarterback room, you think Will Howard starts over Mason Rudolph?
I think they're operating under the assumption that Aaron Rodgers is there. I think he said something the other day on some live show where he kind of insinuated he was going to the Steelers. So if he does, then obviously Will Howard won't start. But yeah, I mean, in the room right now, I think Will Howard should start. Then I saw a report the other day of Mason Rudolph playing well in OTAs. So, but yeah, I think Will Howard comes on top.
Yeah, I like Will Howard more as a starting quarterback than Mason Rudolph, just because Mason Rudolph's already proved what he can't do.
Exactly.
So I think
give it to the chance.
I think like Will Howard, he just won Natty, so like
yeah,
you could say he had a stacked team, but he still has weapons on the Steelers offense. So I mean the Steelers aren't looking at like a Super Bowl contending season either way. Even with Aaron Rodgers, they might go 9-8 once again, but I think you can give him a chance and see how he does. If not, just throw Mason Rudolph back in.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if Kyle Pitts were to end up there, he might have some competition with Pat Freiermuth because he's always been he's always been pretty effective, honestly. So yeah, we'll see what Freiermuth can do. But it would definitely be exciting to see Kyle Pitts on the Steelers. But yeah, I think as far as the Falcons go, it's going to take them some time to figure him out. So hopefully they don't trade him until midseason. If they do decide to trade him, at least give him a chance to work with Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah.
Another thing that was going on in the NFL world is Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, we've probably all seen the video of him doing some questionable things. What you think this leads to him having an issue with the Patriots and their front offense?
I mean, the thing is, Mike Vrabel has always been the one to support like high character people, and Stephon Diggs. You can't say he doesn't have good character, but it's like that video doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't exactly speak to good character. So I think that there's a chance that something happens, but he also just joined the Patriots, and he is their only hope at wide receiver 1 as of now. I know Kyle Williams is there. I know they have some good options at receiver, Demario Douglas and things like that, but Diggs is obviously their alpha wide receiver 1. They paid him as such, and he's on a 1-year deal, so it also could be a thing where it's like, we let him play out the year, and attitude doesn't improve, he's gone, and say attitude doesn't improve and production is there, then maybe we keep him on for longer. We'll see what the Patriots do with that.
Yeah, I think they keep him. They might just keep him for this year, draft someone new, pick up someone in the offseason, which this is one of those teams where they should have taken a chance when they had the chance to get a good wide receiver other than Stephon Diggs, just because he's kind of old now.
Yeah, I almost think that I feel like they had a chance to maybe trade up back into that first round or like just use their draft picks in a better way rather than just getting Kyler Williams, like maybe do something like the Texans
Will Campbell
did. A great pick, so maybe trade up back into like the 20s or something.
They could have probably done like a Giants situation.
Yeah.
And then because if we're being realistic, the Giants really didn't need to go to the first round to get Jackson.
I don't think so either. But Babel seems to love him though.
Yeah, they really like him because apparently he scored like the highest on the QB test.
Yep, I saw that.
100%.
Yep. And not all other quarterbacks do that. I think Lamar was up there. I think Pat was up there. So he's with the elites in that sense. But my biggest thing with a quarterback is you can't take one stat and just be like, hey, he's at the top of the league in this stat, so he's a top quarterback. But, the Patriots, we're going to have to see what they do with Stephon Diggs. But you want to jump into the episode?
Yeah, let's run it.
So today we're just going to be discussing breakout stars from AFC teams. Every year, fantasy football, regular football, there is always a breakout star from each team. We're here to discuss who we think is going to really come out on top and really show that they're a star on their team. Obviously, not all of these will work out, but this is who we see going in that direction. So, Adam, if you want to get started.
I started off for the Buffalo Bills. I got Khalil Shakir as the breakout star. I think this guy is the bona fide wide receiver one of the Buffalo Bills. I think he really shows us what he can do because last year he had one of the fewest dropped balls in the league. And when you have a guy that's catching not even most of his, like almost all of his passes, especially with an elite quarterback throwing to him, I think if you can find a way to work this offense to kind of play in his favor, give him a good system to run around with, I think he'll break out. He'll show us what he's really capable of, and then there might be a contract extension coming his way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Khalil Shakir is on his way for a big year. But moving on to the next team, we've got the Dolphins. Dolphins are a tough decision for us because we don't feel like there's anyone that really can break out that hasn't broken out yet. Devon Achane, I feel like last season was his breakout season. Last season and the season before were kind of both his breakout seasons. Tyreek Hill, obviously, kind of on the downturn. And Jalen Waddle, I felt like already broke out. If you want to consider him a breakout candidate this season, I do think he'll have a good season. But my pick for the Dolphins is going to be Kenneth Grant on their defensive line, their first round pick. This one's kind of an obvious pick, but Kenneth Grant is going to be the breakout star because he has all the tools to make an impact and potentially help this Dolphins defense at least bolster their offense a little bit and put them in kind of a positive direction on certain positions. So Kenneth Grant really has that opportunity, and I think he has all the tools. Another guy is Chop Robinson. He's going to have an ability to really step in and take responsibility on this defensive line. So we'll see what they can do together and kind of hopefully fortify a good Miami Dolphins defense.
All right, next up for the Patriots, we got Drake May. Now, Drake May, he may have won like a couple games last season, lost most of them, but they rebuilded that offensive line. So I think with the right protection, I think Drake May really gets to show us his full capabilities. I honestly think he'll be one of the better QBs this year. He'll be up there with like Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels in terms of like those young guys. So I think Drake May, he goes crazy this season.
Yeah, Drake May should have a good season. We'll have to see what happens with wide receiver room just because we're not really sure. But yeah, they set him up well. The defense looks good and the offense is kind of formulated in the right way. So It's going to be interesting to see what the Patriots can do with Mike Vrabel there as well. Just to kind of close out the division. So for the New York Jets, I know everyone's going to love the pick of Justin Fields and how he'll have a breakout season. But my breakout star for the New York Jets for this season is Braylon Allen. I think that Breece Hall is that guy, but at the same time, Aaron Glenn has specifically stated he wants to run multiple running back sets. He wants to include multiple running backs. He did the same with Jameer and David last year in Detroit. So I think Braylon Allen's going to have a much bigger role this year, potentially get some end zone looks. And if Breece Hall continues his kind of mediocre production, large run, small run, large run, small run. Maybe they start mixing in Braylon Allen a lot more. There's a lot of running backs in that room. I know Isaiah Davis is there as well, but I think Braylon Allen is going to be that guy, and he's going to come out on top as long as Breece doesn't continue to be the guy he is. So good outlook for the Jets running back room.
Yeah, next up, this was one of my favorite picks of the draft just because I think this guy fits really well for the Ravens. Malachi Starks, one of those hard-hitting safeties, The Ravens, their defense needed a little bit of work, and I think this is just what they needed. I think getting a young safety that can kind of watch like the veteran DBs in that room, like Marlon Humphrey is a great player. So I think putting Malachi Starks behind him and just having him watch, kind of learn from him, he can become a pretty good player. Just because Marlon Humphrey, great player, ball hawk. He'll knock the ball out of your hands. He'll get those interceptions. So I think if you put Malachi Starks on that same type of play style with this team, I think the Ravens could be looking at a very good defense for next season.
Yeah, definitely special defense, and first-round picks are, I don't want to say they're always a lock, but they usually tend to do well. So Malachi Starks is definitely in for a good future. And do you see the way he hits? Like this guy he'll just run into you and just absolutely take the life out of your play.
He reminds me of Earl Thomas.
I like that. I don't mind that at all, yeah.
He's more like 6'1", 200 pounds. It's pretty hard hitting, because he's not a taller player.
No, he's not. Yeah, he's not physically huge.
Yeah, but he still hits like crazy, and that's basically what Earl Thomas was.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think the Ravens are in for a good defensive stance, but we'll see if Mark Andrews drops the ball again.
His toe was too big, man. He pulled a KD.
KD, man. Yeah, diving into the rest of the division. For the Bengals, I felt like we were in kind of a similar situation to the Dolphins. I don't know that the Bengals really they didn't really improve too well, and now we see the situation with Shamar Stewart and the rest of their first round picks.
It's just that the Bengals have too many superstars and then too many non-superstars.
Yeah, I agree.
They have their offense three or four pretty good guys.
Yeah.
Defense maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, Cam Taylor-Britt is out there, and I don't know, man. I don't really see. Yeah, Trey Hendrickson, Cam Taylor-Britt. That's
honestly, I wouldn't even say Shamar Stewart is one of those guys.
I mean, he hasn't even signed his contract.
It's not even that, dude. He had 4 career sacks in college.
It was an interesting pick because the Bengals don't have anyone on their defense, and they went with the guy with the least production and the most potential. So it's
and they took him in the first round.
Yeah, so I didn't understand the selection.
He was surprised he went in the first round.
Yeah, I think he figured he was going second. I mean, 3 or 4 sacks your entire career.
I don't think he should have went until maybe late 5th or 6th. Just because how do you have 4 sacks in your entire college career and then you go in the first round?
I think it's all potential based, but the Bengals are not a team that needed defensive potential at all.
I think he knows that he's not going to be able to produce that much in the NFL, and that's why he's holding out on his contract.
No, I mean, the thing is, we don't really know what's going on. I think, they're haggling over, $1 million, and it's dude, he's a first-round pick. Just give him the money.
Yeah.
Just pay the guy.
But at the same time, he didn't produce enough to be worth that much money.
Yeah, maybe that's what they're bringing up. But my breakout star for the Bengals this year is a guy who I wouldn't say, he's kind of later on in his career, but I think Mike Gesicki will have a nice year this year. I wouldn't even go as far as to call it a breakout. I think Mike Gesicki will have a good year, but I don't think it's something that we call a breakout. I think that he'll have okay production under Joe Burrow, and I think he'll score more touchdowns than last year. The competition is still there at the tight end position, but their offense always looks good, remains efficient. If Chase Brown can help them bring the ball down the field, Mike Gesicki should get good looks in the short passing game and kind of towards the end zone. So Mike Gesicki is my breakout star for the Bengals.
Next up, for the Cleveland Browns.
It's an interesting one.
Quinshon Judkins.
Oh, no quarterback?
No, I'm not going to go quarterback just because all those guys suck. But Quinshon Judkins, just watching his college tape is pretty nice. He runs the ball a lot. I'd say Marshawn Lynch with less yards, because I'd see him get maybe 5 or 6 and then 2 or 3. But even so, that's pretty good for a running back. And if he can do that on the Browns, straight out of college, that's perfect for him, because then that shows that he has a lot of room to develop. And he's just one of those angry runners, a lot like David Montgomery.
Yeah.
I think they have a similar build as well. So, I think once the Browns figure out their O-line situation, they could really set them up for success, especially since they're not re-signing Nick Chubb, which I'm very surprised by. It's kind of sad that Nick Chubb is a free agent. So.
Yeah. Long live the era of Nick Chubb. What's interesting about Quinshon Judkins is you were right about the sense that he reminds me of David Montgomery's size, how he doesn't go down, he's a power runner. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, when he gets out wide, he reminds me of Jahmyr Gibbs. So it's you could potentially get the best of both worlds in one running back.
That's why I say he's kind of like Marshawn.
Exactly. I don't want to say that obviously because that's such a hype up, but he has all the tools to be that guy. It's going to be how do the Browns surround him, because we saw with Saquon and the Giants, then him going to the Eagles, it was all about the situation.
Yeah.
So if the Browns can't support him, then it's going to be hard.
I think he's going to be similar for Genty too, just because the Raiders don't have a system that can match his play style. So if he was on a team like the Lions or something with a great O-line, no one's stopping him.
He might be the number 2 running back in the NFL.
Yeah, just because the Raiders are basically what the Giants were at that time. Mid quarterback, pretty good wide receiver, decent tight end. So their offense really isn't all that good, and they still have a terrible O-line.
Yeah.
So I think those guys they're just gonna kind of have to wait for their time to come. They're still gonna have crazy highlight reel, but I don't think they'll be I don't think people are gonna definitely call them a bust just because there's gonna be a lack of production in the beginning of their career.
Yeah, definitely. So when Saquon was there, when he was drafted, Was Eli Manning still the quarterback?
I think so.
I believe so, yeah. So it's kind of the same situation. You have an okay quarterback. You have an insanely good running back at good value, but no O-line, not a great defense, so you're going to end up passing the ball a lot. So it's going to be an interesting year for Ashton Jeanty, but we'll get to the Raiders later on. Browns are in a good spot, but what do you think? Who do you think comes out on top in the quarterback group for the Browns?
For the Browns, right now it's looking like it's going to be Kenny Pickett. That's what I've been. That's really?
No.
You don't think so?
It's Kenny Pickett might get cut.
Really?
Yeah, my thinking. I mean, he performed the worst in OTAs, and they spent 2 picks on quarterbacks. So, and they have to cut one. So, out of those 4 quarterbacks between Kenny, actually, let me rephrase the question. Out of Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, and Joe Flacco, who's getting cut?
Dylan Gabriel.
Okay.
Just because Kenny Pickett has more experience than him, Dylan Gabriel isn't really that good.
Yeah.
Shedeur has too much hype. They need him for media.
Yeah.
If they're not going to start him. But I do think, like, how are you not going to start the reigning Super Bowl champ, Kenny Pickett? Like,
don't give me any Kenny Pickett Super Bowl champ. I do think Kenny Pickett gets cut just because of the draft capital used on Dylan Gabriel. Like, if they had spent a 5th on Shedeur and then a 6th on Gabriel, I'd say Gabriel's getting cut immediately. But it's the fact that they went out and used a 3rd round pick on a quarterback who shouldn't have gone until the 6th round. And then Joe Flacco will probably just stick around just to be the
I will actually start dying of laughter if Shedeur gets cut.
But I think you're right about the media thing. Like, you can't cut Shedeur Sanders after letting him drop to the 5th round. It just doesn't make sense. It's not going to happen.
That would actually be so funny. Like,
that would be.
I kind of want the Browns to do it now just because of how funny it is.
No, but love Shedeur Sanders. I kind of hope he comes out on top because I want to see him perform as the.
I just don't think he's that good.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair assessment.
I think all of those guys in that QB room are about the same. Like Dylan Gabriel, Flacco, Pickett. I think they're all.
I mean, I'd say Flacco's obviously the best as of right now. I mean, he's had the most experience.
Yeah, and he's actually won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but he's also like 40 years old. So.
Yeah. Props to his longevity though.
Yeah, LeBron style longevity.
LeBron's not even that good.
Let's move on to the next team. Next team is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. So for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I have 2 breakout stars. I've got Roman Wilson and Caleb Johnson. Just to touch on Roman Wilson a little bit, I think the opportunity is right there in his hands, and he didn't have a good season last season mainly because of injuries. So the opportunity is right there for him to take over that wide receiver 2 spot and kind of help out whoever the quarterback is going to be. I know DK is going to be running those long routes. He's going to be straight up and down the field. He's going to be running 30-yard routes. So they need someone who can come in and play more of the slot, someone who can take over those short routes. And I just don't see any competition in the wide receiver room. Like, there's literally nobody. So
it's just DK now.
Exactly. So Roman Wilson is going to be that guy, in my opinion, and I don't think he has, like, an opportunity to fall. Like, it's going to be on his shoulders to make a dent, and if he doesn't, then that's really on him.
No, my thing is, why did DK choose the Steelers?
I don't understand.
Like,
they were falling apart, and he chose the Steelers.
You said you wanted to. First of all, he wanted to go to a warm team. Like, so someone. Like, if you're gonna go to a warm team, go to the Jags, go to the Bucks. Like, honestly, DK on the Jags, that wouldn't have been too bad.
Oh my God, 3 elite wide receivers on the Jags.
Yeah, because
if Trevor Lawrence would have no excuse.
Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, and DK Metcalf, that would be insane. Not even that. He could have. I don't want to say he would go to the Rams or the Seahawks. But those would have been good fits. Or Rams or the 49ers. Because those would have been good fits for him also.
Interesting.
That would have been kind of crazy. Especially since they just lost Debo. They would be back to probably one of the best wide receiver rooms in the league.
It'd be him, Ayuk, and Pierce all in the same room. That's tough.
Juwan Jennings.
Oh, Juwan Jennings. Dang, that's a good wide receiver room with DK.
Whew. That would be insane. But I don't know. He picked a team that didn't have a QB either.
No future.
I think he wasn't getting that many offers, so he kind of just took what he can get just to get some new scenery.
Yeah, I also think that he expects Aaron Rodgers to be there. Like, the entirety of Pittsburgh expects Aaron Rodgers to be on the team. And what if he isn't? Like, the guy is he's coming to the end of his career. Why are we expecting a 40-year-old quarterback to all of a sudden go back to being 4 years ago?
Yeah, I feel like everyone in Pittsburgh kind of wants Aaron Rodgers, even though they just want him instead of Rudolph.
They just want the name. They don't even care about his production.
But the thing is, I feel like Will Howard will do better than Aaron Rodgers could do right now. Yeah, because Aaron Rodgers, what did he do for the Jets last year? Exactly. And the Jets and the Steelers are pretty much on the same level right now.
Yeah. Arguably.
Last year Jets are the same thing as this year's Steelers.
Yeah.
One good wide receiver, no O-line, no running back. Because I would say Breece Hall didn't do anything last year.
He didn't do much, yeah.
Defense is all right, mediocre at best. So, I mean, it's pretty much the same team. Aaron Rodgers is gonna have no more than what he did last year, production wise.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the Steelers are, like you said, they're in a pretty bad place. But where would you have liked to see DK go? Besides, I know he said the Niners, but realistically, him becoming the wide receiver, obviously he wants to be wide receiver 1, right? So where would he have to go to be wide receiver 1 and succeed at the same time?
New England.
Okay, I don't mind that. Yeah.
New England.
He would be. You think he would be 1 over Diggs?
Yeah, for sure.
I can see that. Yeah.
New England or Tennessee.
I was about to say Tennessee was the team I was going to choose. Yeah.
Because Calvin Ridley he's not bad.
He's okay,
but he's not like your number one guy.
He's not the Calvin Ridley he was before the accusations.
I would put at least 15 players over Calvin Ridley before I started.
Oh, well over 15 for me. Yeah.
Because there's so many good wide receivers in the league right now.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty crazy. And some of these guys there's 2 elite guys, 2 number 1 guys on one team, like the Bucks.
AJB, Devontae Smith, the Bucks.
The Cowboys
the Bengals,
now.
Obviously,
the Bengals,
Cowboys.
Yeah. The Seahawks too.
Yeah.
Even with Torrey Horton, I know that's your guy, and then
my guy.
Cooper Kupp and JSN. JSN's still the best wide receiver.
Seahawks number 1 wide receiver room in the NFL. Bengals, don't come at me.
All right, let's keep going. We got a little sidetrack there.
Yeah.
All right, next up.
Actually, wait. I wanted to ask one more question about DK Metcalf. Where would you put him in the wide receiver ranking right now? Give me a range. You don't have to, obviously not an exact number, but.
I'd say top 15.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I would definitely put Malik Neighbors and BTJ over him. Ron Thomas Jr. I'd say JSN is better. Neighbors, BTJ, JSN, Terry McLaurin, Nico Collins, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and then Smitty or someone. But there's so many better people. Even Mike Evans, Drake London. I'd put them over DK just because DK is he shows up randomly. He went crazy against the Cowboys a couple years ago, or either last year or the year before. And then last year he finished with 900 yards. He didn't have 1,000.
He didn't even have 1,000. Yeah.
I think JSN kind of took the spotlight from him a little bit.
Yep.
But even still, you're the number 1 guy. You're 6'4", 225 pounds. You can run a 4 something, something like that.
Yeah.
You have everything you need to be a great wide receiver.
Right.
He's literally Megatron, build wise, size wise.
Yeah.
I think his main thing is his hands. He can't really catch. He catches with his body a lot.
Yeah.
Even though he will moss somebody, but that's what I'm saying. He's inconsistent. He shows up very randomly.
I always thought he should have been just as good as AJ Brown, and still as good as AJ Brown is now. But I put him right there I'd put him between 20 and 25 probably. Mm-hmm. I have kind of guys like Michael Pittman ahead of him or right at his spot because I think they're a little bit more productive, and I think you're right, it's the hands. Mm-hmm. They're just not there. You're right. He has all the tools to be one of the most elite receivers in the league, and he's just not. So, kind of makes for an interesting dynamic. But you're right. We got a little sidetracked. Let's move on to the next team, which is Houston.
All right, Houston Texans. I think I'm gonna go with Jaden Higgins.
Good pick.
Jaden Higgins. It's a pretty well-rounded wide receiver. You see him playing the outside really well, playing the inside really well. He runs those slants. Get a couple yards after he catches the ball. He'll catch the ball in the end zone. So I think they got their number 2. I think Tank Dell might get pushed to the 3 slot if he does come back, just because of injuries.
3 slot.
I think the injuries will be what holds him back for a couple years because I don't think he'll just be a shell of what he was. Because he tore his ACL, right?
I think he tore multiple things.
And then he got shot too.
Yeah, that was well before, but I think he tore multiple ligaments. So I think he's out for most of this season. Mm-hmm. So Higgins will probably be wide receiver 2. But then Higgins' teammate Jalen Noel also went over 1,000 yards. I believe had more than 10 touchdowns and was picked by the Texans in the next round after. So is there a possibility Dell moves to wide receiver 4 and then gets traded, or Noel gets traded? It's going to be an interesting dynamic next year But for this year, yeah, I like Higgins as the wide receiver 2 breakout star.
Watch Tank Dell get traded and just go absolutely insane.
He's a good receiver. He just doesn't have the size.
That's why I get injured so much.
Yeah.
I don't know how Smitty did it. Because
Smitty's been elite since he was a baby. Yeah. Like, he knows how to handle that. I mean, I don't want to say Tank Dell doesn't, but, like, he's gotten injured so many times.
Yeah, I feel like if he had a situation like Smitty, he would be just like him.
Yeah,
or better.
I think. Oh wow, really?
Yeah, because
dude, Smitty in college is one of my top 5 college wide receivers ever.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, easily. Yeah. Yeah, Jaden Higgins for the Texans. I think that's a solid choice for a breakout star. Should I move on to the Colts?
Yeah.
So for the Indianapolis Colts, my breakout star for this year is going to be Josh Downs. Josh Downs is a extremely productive wide receiver, extremely underrated wide receiver, and in my opinion, moves a lot like Jamar Chase. I won't say he will be Jamar Chase, but he moves a lot like Jamar Chase in the way that he's able to get in and out of his breaks. The biggest thing for Josh Downs is not even his own skills. It's going to be who's at quarterback for them this year, because if you look at the stats from last year, when Josh Downs had Joe Flacco, or kind of someone adjacent to Joe Flacco, like someone who plays more in the system rather than going for those home run plays like AR, he was extremely productive. Like 8 catches, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9 catches, 100 yards. Like, we're talking about a potential top 15, 20 receiver in the NFL if he does this on a consistent basis. And then AR comes back, and I think he has like 2 catches for 25 yards, 1 catch for 13 yards. And that just speaks to the inconsistencies of Anthony Richardson. So we'll see who ends up starting. I think if it's Daniel Jones, Josh Downs might have a little bit of a better year. Whereas if it's Anthony Richardson, they're going to have to work on their chemistry. And Anthony Richardson teams tends to like Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce a little bit more, like those taller wide receivers who can actually see the ball coming from like 90 feet up in the air. So we'll see who the quarterback is, but my guy for this year for the Indianapolis Colts is going to be Josh Downs.
What do you think of Tyler Warren?
I think he's a great player. I think the only reason that I didn't put him as a breakout star is because he was, what pick was it, 14? Kind of an obvious pick for them, kind of an obvious breakout star for them, because something that Adam and I have always focused on is that young tight ends and young quarterbacks always go together, always mesh well together, always have good production together. So I expect Tyler Warren to be good with whoever it is, either Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson, maybe a little bit worse with Daniel Jones. But Tyler Warren has all the tools, and personally, I think they should use him at fullback a little bit the way they used him at Penn State. Like, I think he had a couple rushing touchdowns, obviously full-time tight end, but throw him in some fullback sets and let him just nose down and break down the defense. But what do you think of Tyler Warren?
I love him, man. He's like, I watched his film at Penn State. It was crazy the way he runs over a defense. Mm-hmm. He's such a fast tight end.
Fast.
It's crazy to think that a tight end could be this fast.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this is like an overhype, but like I feel like it's like if Gronk was a little bit smaller.
Okay. You're giving a lot of hype to Tyler.
I'm not saying he's Gronk. I'm just saying that's a similar play style.
No, that's fair. Yeah, definitely similar play style. And he has all the tools to be that guy.
Yeah, so. It's just like these tight end nowadays are so fast. I don't really see him blocking.
Yeah.
I need to go back and look, but if he can block too, that'd be great. Because then you give Anthony Richardson the time in the pocket. Yeah. He's launching it like 90 yards down the field.
Right.
Because we already know he got an arm.
Yeah.
So you give him the right protection, then I feel like that ball's going in the end zone every play.
I know Tyler Warren really likes these like fade routes where it comes right over his shoulder, and I don't see a lot of tight ends who are good at catching that. Yeah, so it was really interesting.
He's like a pure receiving tight end.
Yeah. That's
why I say I worry. Like, I'm kind of iffy about his blocking.
Yeah.
But I mean, if he'll get you yards, he'll get you yards. So
I say let Anthony Richardson go out there week 1, let him establish a connection with Tyler Warren, and see what he can do. I mean, he was your number 4 pick 2 years ago. I don't know why they're even considering Daniel Jones. But What do you think, Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones? If you had to pick right now, who would start?
I don't think AR. I think AR over DJ just because Daniel Jones has had enough time to prove himself. Like, okay, you went to playoffs one time. What did you do after that? Just trip 5 yards before the end zone? Yep. So I think AR5 over Daniel Jones any day, just because Daniel Jones sucks.
So say, like, would you consider Anthony Richardson to be a starting quarterback in the NFL? Like, starting caliber quarterback?
Not right now.
No. That's fair. I think I agree with that.
I think the Colts, I mean, I don't really remember who was in that draft class, like QB-wise, where the Colts.
There was only, I think Levis was next. because it was Levis was next. It was Young, Stroud. I forget who was 3, but 4 was.
It was
four was
so that was the
Richardson.
Bryce Young class. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, there really wasn't anyone that good. I don't know why teams don't just go just immediately go after good QBs in free agency.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because that's kind of what the Jets did. They got Justin Fields, and I think that's a great pickup for them.
Like, imagine the Colts had gotten Sam Darnold, and then Anthony Richardson sits back, relaxes for a year, understands what's going on.
But I think they wanted someone that can. They need someone that can run around in the pocket. You know how Darnold is in the pocket.
Yeah.
That's why I'm kind of scared for him on the Seahawks. Their O-line sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, we did get Gray's Abel. He's great. So
he might bolster that entire offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Next is the Jags. Go ahead.
Jags. I mean, this is pretty obvious. Travis Hunter. I know a lot of people were watching him at OTAs and seeing he dropped the ball a couple of times, but the thing is, no one's gonna post all of his highlights. There's gonna be too many, so they have to post his lowlights to kind of bring him down. You know what I mean?
Everyone needs to stop watching OTAs. Just stop. It doesn't matter. Jamar Chase had hands, and Jamar Chase couldn't catch a football. Joe Burrow's hands were too small for the football. We heard it all, bro. We heard it all. OTAs don't matter.
You know, Travis Hunter is doing reps on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I know. I saw, bro. There was one clip where I saw him guarding Brian Thomas Jr. and then catching a pass next to him. It's just it's pretty crazy.
The fact that he plays both sides of the ball, I mean, he has to break out.
Yeah.
I feel like if you play both sides of the ball, that gives you such a good IQ wise, that gives you such an advantage on your whoever's guarding you or who you're guarding.
Imagine you know what they're gonna do before they do it. That's crazy.
But there was one player I was watching. I saw him beat Torrey Horton. Yeah. I saw him beat Travis Hunter a couple times when they matched up. It's pretty nice.
In that Jalen Brunson celebration, Torrey Horton had him locked, Torrey Horton was killing him. I'll say that.
Yeah.
And that locked.
Even on a basic route, Travis is low key getting lost.
There's 2 receivers that killed Travis Hunter. One of them was Torrey Horton. Second was Alec Iomanor, who I'll talk about in a bit. But those are the 2 wide receivers who absolutely dusted Travis Hunter on the defensive side of the ball.
Yep. All right, who do we got next? You got the Titans.
So here's where I'll talk about Alec Iomanor. Alec Iomanor was, I believe he was a 4th-round pick. I thought he was worth a 2nd-round pick for any team. But the Titans ended up grabbing him. The biggest thing with Alec is going to be the competition in the wide receiver room because they have Lockett, they've got Ridley, they've got Chimere Dike, they've also got Xavier Restrepo who's got a good connection with Ward. So it's they might keep him on the roster. And how many wide receivers do teams on the roster? It's only maybe 5 or 6, maybe 6 or 7. So we'll see if Iomanor can keep his spot and also be productive. But like I said, absolutely dusted Travis Hunter, one of the most productive wide receivers in college, and he went to Stanford, not a place that produces these all-time great wide receivers. So for him to come out of there with a lot of production is interesting. But I'm not going to go with Iomanor as my breakout star. My breakout star for this year for the Tennessee Titans is Gunnar Helm. Like we've always said in the past, good tight ends, good young tight ends with good young quarterbacks will always be productive. We see that year in, year out, and he's going to be an absolute asset for the Titans who need some help at tight end. So Chigozie Okonkwo was their starting tight end, and I think Helm will take that spot, even though he was a later round selection. I don't feel like Okonkwo has done enough to really be hey, I'm a starting tight end in the NFL. The guy just kind of is very up and down week over week. He had maybe 500-600 yards last season. Okay tight end, but we don't really want him there. And I think Gunnar Helm, some of the athleticism he displays, Senior Bowl, in some of the Texas games, he's a really good player, and I think he can have an impact from day one.
Yeah. What do we have next?
This is your guy.
This is Broncos coming into this season are one of my favorite teams. I think I've said it before. I'll say it again. They're taking the AFC. Was it AFC West? Yeah. They're taking the AFC West over Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Just because the way they stack their defense, they got Bo Nix some weapons, okay? And this guy, Jahdae Barron, this is one of my favorite players. Watching him play, so tough, bro. And you pair him up with PS2, dude, this is a lockdown duo. This is a lockdown duo. This is almost as good as Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon.
Ooh.
Almost as good, nowhere near as good.
Really? Nowhere near as good?
Gotta rep my.
Gotta rep the home team.
But Jahdae Barron, great DB. I think he plays similar to PS2. So I think you have both of them on the same side. Like I was watching these videos. The way these teams play the Broncos, they work their whole offense to get rid of PS2.
And then you have to go to Jade Barron on the other side.
Exactly. So they had I forgot which team it was, but they had put a receiver in motion just to get PS2 to the other side, and then that's the only way their play worked because they ran a similar play. So they had a 3-stack on one side of receivers.
Yeah.
They motioned the slot guy all the way to the right side of the field, brought PS2 with him, and then they sent someone across the middle of the field to get the yards. So I mean. So if you have two of the same guys now, if you have PS2 and Jade Barron, where are you throwing the ball?
There's not a lot of space to throw the ball.
You're gonna have to be a check down demon when you play the Broncos. It's not gonna be like Jameis Winston throwing 50-yard bombs to Jerry Jeudy last year.
It's okay. Patrick Mahomes throwing 50-yard bombs to Xavier Worthy this year.
Bro, Xavier Worthy isn't getting past Jade Barron.
Xavier Worthy top 5 wide receiver season from Cohen.
Jeez, man.
That wasn't a real prediction. Anyways, but something that we talked about with the Broncos was like how much better their defense got. Like Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw. Who else? I think there's some other guys who were there. Like that defense has bolstered themselves really well. So I don't think you're too far off.
You know who they should get? They should get Von Miller. Just for like
get Von Miller back. Give me Von Miller back on the Broncos.
Because he said he wanted to play one more year in the NFL.
And the Broncos would be the right. I mean, he won the Super Bowl there.
He won the Super Bowl there. They need somewhat of they already have somewhat of a D line, but they definitely need help.
That'd be
there.
Interesting.
That if you get Von Miller, I'm not saying he's like the greatest defensive edge in the league right now, but
yeah.
I mean he's still a really solid guy, and he could probably bring out some potential in whatever younger guys you got on the D line.
Yeah.
So I think you let him come to the Broncos, you let him retire after 1 year, kind of mentor people, and it gives you a solid player to help you on that defense. But dude, the Broncos they're looking at good things this season.
Broncos are in for an interesting season. Let's go on to we've got 3 teams left for today's episode. For the Kansas City Chiefs, there's Brashard Smith. There's some good rookies. I know they drafted a wide receiver rookie, so there's a couple good options for breakout star. But I think who is really going to come alive is Omar Norman Lott, round 2, pick 63 for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's an absolute beast, and I think he could have even potentially snuck into those last couple picks of the first round. But I think that's where the Chiefs need the most help is going to be their defensive line. I think you made a good point earlier in saying that there wasn't really much help on the defensive side of the ball. Like there's not a lot of people there, so it's interesting to see how the Chiefs are going to kind of make adjustments to help out their Hall of Fame quarterback and really help him take out who is going to be in the rest of their division. Like the Broncos are going to be a tough win, and if the Chiefs want to win, a guy like Omar Norman Lott's going to have to come alive, get to Bo Nix a couple times.
Yeah, I think be realistic with it. How do you think the Chiefs do this season? Just because, do you think like Patrick Mahomes, this is kind of like he needs this season, otherwise he's not going to really keep on winning?
I won't say he needs it, but my prediction remains the same as it was a couple weeks ago, which I think the Chiefs are winning the Super Bowl. I think Mahomes is angry. I think Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, and I think that they will win the championship this upcoming season, but it's their defense that worries me the most. So, being realistic, I'll say they go 13-4, and end up with maybe the 2 or the 3 seed.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they would go and miss playoffs, but I'd say they'd definitely be a wild card team this year.
But you have the Broncos winning the division. Yeah.
So they will make playoffs. So they're gonna struggle a lot just because these teams are getting much better and better.
Yeah.
So the league a couple years ago is much different to what it is now in terms of skill on each team. Because I would go as far as to say that each team has at least maybe at least 3 to 4 very good players. Right. On each side of the ball.
Yeah.
Except for some of those terrible teams.
Dolphins.
Yeah, the Dolphins or the Bengals.
One-sided teams.
Or even the Titans or the Jags.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna be much harder for Patrick Mahomes to succeed as he once did.
Yeah.
Especially because his weapons aren't the same either. 2 of his main offensive guys are coming off injury for this season. So yeah. We'll see how they play. We got Pacheco coming off injury, and I'm blanking on his name. Rashee Rice.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think Pacheco is the RB1.
Really?
I think it's Brashard Smith. Really late pick for the Kansas City Chiefs, but I still think it's going to be Brashard Smith because I don't think Pacheco is all that good. He almost got his job taken by 35-year-old Kareem. What do you think of Travis Kelce? Retirement this year, next year? Just speaking on retirement, forget production.
I think he's going to try to get another one before
he wants one more.
Yeah,
that's fair.
But I don't see it happening in the next 2 years, which is kind of his. That's kind of his
window. I think 2 years from now he needs to. He's 34. Didn't he? So he'll be 36 or 37.
Yeah, like as a tight end, well, when you're playing that position, you can't be that old playing that position.
Yeah, Gronk retired pretty early too. Yeah.
You can be that old, but you're just not gonna have that production. You're just gonna. I mean, if he does, I feel like if he wants his legacy to stay the same,
yeah,
I think he retires within the next year or two, just because he's not going to be putting up the same production. It's going to be like Julio Jones on the Eagles.
Yeah, that's where I think Gronk got really lucky that he went back and joined Brady, and then Brady won a Super Bowl, and he was very productive on that Bucs Super Bowl team. So we'll see what Travis Kelce does. But final two teams.
I think we got the Raiders. I'm gonna go with Jacoby Myers.
Okay.
Jacoby Myers. I'm not gonna go Genty just because like we all know he's bound to either do amazing or do terrible.
He's gonna have 1,000 yards. Like if we're being honest, he'll have 1,000 yards. They'll give him the opportunity to get there.
They're gonna give him the touches for it, but it just depends on what he decides to do with the ball. But yeah, Jacoby Myers. I think if I'm I don't know how correct I am on this, but he had one of, if not the lowest drop percentages in the league.
Yep.
And now you gave him an actual quarterback with Geno Smith.
Yep.
So, I mean, who was throwing the ball to him before this? It was like Aiden O'Connell.
And it was a mix of any possible quarterback we could throw.
Yeah, they were just kind of
Mariota was throwing the ball at one point.
Yeah, so I think now he has someone who can actually put the ball in his hands and help him to make big plays. And I think that's what Jacoby Myers needed. I think you might see him in the top 10 best receivers in the league within a couple of years.
Okay.
Once he can figure out how to get his production like all the way up.
Yeah.
I think Jacoby, because right now he's the definite number one guy, so he will be getting the most targets. Yeah. So I think he'll do a lot with those targets, especially since he had the lowest drop rate.
Yeah, I think Myers is good. Their number 2 guy is Jack Besh, who I think could have an impact, but I think it's pretty clear Myers is number 1. And Besh needs to kind of improve his route tree a little bit, like expand more to the outside, maybe a couple more slant routes, and just kind of improve his overall route tree to get to be that wide receiver 1. So yeah, I mean, Jacoby Myers is an extremely underrated receiver in my opinion as well. But yeah, let's move on to our final team, and we're gonna go back to that same theme that we always go with: young tight ends, young quarterbacks, always good duo. For the Los Angeles Chargers, my breakout star is Oronde Gadsden Jr., who was an absolute beast in college, very underrated tight end coming into the draft, got drafted like a very underrated tight end, and I think he's going to be an important piece of this Chargers offense. They don't really have any competition at tight end. If you want to consider Will Dissly to be competition, by all means, but I think Gadsden takes over that position from day one, and with their offense improvement, Amarian Hampton, Trey Harris, Ladd McConkey, all young guys. The theme across the board is that this team is getting younger. Oronde Gadsden is slotted up to be in the slot, slotted up to be that guy at tight end for the Chargers. So it's going to be really fun to see him go out there and produce. He could have a potential, 700-800 yard season as a rookie. So for a guy who was drafted so late, that's really good. But yeah, I mean, that closes out our breakout stars. Now, I wanted to ask you a couple questions. So my first question was, who do you think, who's your MVP for this upcoming season?
Ooh, MVP. Well, it's obviously going to be a quarterback. So if it's going to be a quarterback, I'm going to say Lamar or Josh Allen, just because I think they finally have that stretch where they go and win a bunch of games and take their team pretty far. But if I'm going to give you my offensive player of the year, JSN. No, I'm playing. Actually, I think it could happen. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba really could. If he can get that connection with Darnold, I think he could really. All right, my MVP for this season, I'm gonna go JSN, just because I think JSN he's gonna get that connection.
MVP?
Yes,
MVP Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yo, no bias here, bro. Don't look at my shirt. It doesn't say Seahawks, but like, no bias. JSN MVP, just because he's gonna get that connection with Darnold.
Yeah.
Okay, and Cooper Kupp, old guy. He's not gonna get too many. He's not gonna get too much production. He'll probably get like 900 yards. Torrey Horton, he's
still a rookie.
He's still a rookie.
Fifth
he's
round
great,
rookie. He'll
but
500-600 yards. Yeah.
He'll probably get like maybe 800 max.
Max, yeah.
JSN 1,500 yards at least.
It's entirely possible.
I mean, last year, first year in the league, 800, 900, something like that yards. Next season, 1,200 yards.
Yeah.
He's only going up from here.
Right.
So, I mean, I think you have to. I mean, this might be a wild card and might be a hot take, but Jason could actually be the offensive player of the year or MVP if they don't give it to a quarterback.
That's interesting. Next question. If you could go back and revisit one game in the past to go watch in person, what game would it be?
Super Bowl 48. Broncos versus Seahawks.
Ooh, that was 43-8, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, so you just want to see BTA.
Yeah, bro.
You just want to see BTA.
That game, just by looking at that game, you have to say the Legion of the Boom was the greatest offense of all time. Because the Broncos offense at that time, they were claimed to be the greatest, one of the greatest offenses of all time. So you have the greatest defense versus the greatest offense, and the defense won. Like, absolutely won. Like, limited you guys to 8 points?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the Legion of Boom is easily the best defense of all time.
If I could go back and visit one game, it would have to be 28-3. I need to see that in person. That insane comeback. I want to see all the tears from the Falcons fans. 28-3 is my favorite game.
Another one would be, even though I don't like either of these teams, just because of how electric this game was, Jared Goff versus Patrick Mahomes.
54-51?
Yeah, that game went to like 100 plus points.
That game was that was probably one of the most fun games of all time.
That was such an electric.
Was that a playoff game? No, it wasn't. It was a regular season game. Yeah.
Yeah, even like for regular season,
that's incredible.
50 on both sides, and you got a young guy versus a seasoned vet.
Right.
Like, that is crazy.
That's insane.
I think that was probably one of the best games. Like,
100%. Yeah.
Oh, I got one for you. What was the best Super Bowl of all time?
Go back to the same answer. 28-3. 28-3 is the greatest Super Bowl of all time. Because I think it displayed who Tom Brady is. I think it just showed us. It was like Mahomes needs that moment to be like, I'm in that conversation.
You know, if he got it against the Eagles, that would be genuinely insane.
Yeah, that would put him. I mean, obviously he needs a few more rings to catch.
No. I would put him right there. I would say he's better than Brady if he got that Super Bowl.
What was the differential? What was the point difference?
Well, at the fourth quarter, it was 8-40 something.
Yeah. I mean, if you pull off something like that, like, there's no question. I don't know. I still don't know how to put him above Brady, but.
No, but the thing is, look at that defense. Eagles defense that he would be playing against.
That is the greatest defense I've seen ever.
This is probably the best defense within the last 5 years. I'm not going to say 10 because the Legion of Boom is still better.
All right. Final question for you. Who's your offensive rookie of the year?
Offensive rookie of the year. I'm gonna go Genty. I think Genty or Travis if he plays wide receiver more. Yeah, how do you think that's gonna work? Because if he plays both sides of the ball, do you think?
I think he'll mostly play wide receiver, and they'll stick him in corner for a few packages. But I think he's a natural wide receiver. And I think
he's better at DB.
Really?
Yeah.
The thing is, bro, I saw him jump the other day, and he jumps like 6 feet off the ground, which could go either way, wide receiver or DB. But like,
that's when he was playing.
Yeah,
he was practicing as a DB. Then.
That's just
ridiculous. Honestly, I think Travis Hunter can really win an MVP.
Yes, I agree, and I was thinking that, but it's like
I'm not saying this season, but I'm saying throughout his career. Yeah. If you play both sides of the ball and you're playing both sides of the ball well, you just have to give him an MVP. Because at that point, he's literally the most valuable player on your team.
Just imagine he has 1,000 yards and 10 interceptions. And 10 touchdowns. Like
5 on each side of the ball.
Oh my God, that would be ridiculous. 5 pick sixes. Oh my God, Travis Hunter drives me nuts. My offensive rookie of the year pick is going to be Tedero McMillan. I think he's going to have a huge season. I know you think he can't catch, but I think he's working on it.
I don't think he can't catch. I just think he can't catch when it matters.
That's fair. I guess we'll see what happens. But we'll be back next week with the NFC and all of our breakout stars. We're happy to have you guys here. Keep listening. Keep tuning in every week. And we're excited for football season to start. Yep. See you guys.
See you.